have this now. I have this for when the Zeeks attack. I think it'll happen by Tuesday. You know, if you're an older person and your hobby is collecting mannequin hands, I'm not coming over to your house. There's no reason to even invite me because I'm not coming. So, hey, I'm in the van. I just got in here. I am somewhere in the state of New York. The van is starting to get ripe. I got in, I went for a ride yesterday on my bike, my full-size bike, for the first time since I've been on the trip, leaving 2 weeks ago. My first ride, went for a ride here in New York, 24 miles, nothing fancy. Rode with a friend who's very good on a bicycle, far beyond me. So luckily I was on my single speed and he had to slow down and wait for me the whole time. But my cycling clothes from yesterday's ride are in the van, and the van's been in the sun all day. And when I walked in, I was like, what's that smell? Is that the cheese that my wife bought? It turns out, no, it's my cycling uniform, which my leotard, my monokini that I ride when I'm cycling. And it reminded me that I've been holding out on all of you. I have a really good puke story, and I forgot about it. So as many of you know, I spent some time on a ship off the coast of South America when I was like 18 years old. And on this ship, there were a variety of world-class puke stories. The first time that anyone had ever puked on me, that happened on that trip. But there's another story that I forgot about. And basically we're on this ship, and we get to a foreign country, and like all Americans do, we wander around until we find the people in charge, and we say, hi, we're here to colonize you, but first we would love to get inebriated. Can you assist with that? And of course they steer us to their local drink, which we consume in mass quantities, against the advice of everyone on the ship, including the captain, who specifically pulled us aside in this port and said, whatever you do, you dumb jackals, whatever you do, do not drink the local drink. And we all stood around and scratched our chins and pondered that and said, well, of course not. We would never do anything so reckless. Then immediately sprinted from the ship into the local town and said, hey, tell us more about this local drink of yours. Then proceeded to just drink and consume it at a world-class level. Well, I had a friend on the ship who did so, became inebriated. I don't know what happened to him, but he somehow made it back to the ship. And in the middle of the night, as he was rolling around, he decided to puke in his bed. But he didn't realize he'd puked until morning, so he rolled around in it all night. And the guy had amazing hair. That's one thing about this friend of mine. His head of hair was like Alec Baldwin's hair, like a chia pet. It just grows like a thick forest of growth in all directions. And he woke up in the morning, and it was almost like he had a helmet of puke dried into his hair. And I remember distinctly looking over at him and saying, this will be a moment that will go down in the annals of your life, and something that you can be proud of while you pass along to your children and their children. There's a certain type of individual, male, intimidated by the folding bicycle because it kind of has that bear on a unicycle look. It's not macho. And there's plenty of guys who ride bikes who are really primarily concerned about how they look. That's not me. I'm wearing sandals and riding on a folding bike. So in terms of hopes to clinging to anything cool, I passed it a long time ago. I'm on the walkway over the Hudson River, not the auto bridge, but the footbridge, trying like hell to shoot some B-roll. You got the trains going, you got traffic, you got cars, you got my wife on her folding bicycle. I just have a super short amount of time today, staying with a friend here, and then got to do a little more work this afternoon, and then packing up tomorrow and heading off to the next town. I bought a bow and arrow in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I bought a Galaxy Sage with basically, limbs that you can replace for different poundage. I bought a 35-pound Galaxy Sage, 8 arrows, basic stuff. Haven't shot a bow in 40 years. My wife, never once in her entire life, since I've known her, 27, 28 years, has ever mentioned a bow and arrow. The second I went in that archery store, she was like, she can't stand it. She has to be a part of everything. And she's like, well, what about me? What about my bow? I want a bow. And then she just proceeded to turn this sales guy inside out. I could just see him like How did I get here? Questioning every life decision he'd ever made to be there. Questioning his like of archery, of humanity, anything. She turned him inside out. And now I can't drive the van anywhere. She's on the Google Maps. I said the Google Maps. She's on Google Maps searching out archery places for us. It's crazy. Okay, there are cities and countries and counties that understand bike tourism, and then there's everybody else. For those of you cities in America who are not building a bicycling infrastructure, to say that you're missing out and missing the point and missing the future is kind of an understatement. This place, I'm on the Hudson River Rail Trail, it's unbelievable. And I think the cities who aren't planning at least a part of their future with the bicycle are either too dumb or too lazy, or they're all taking money from the same people that give them money in the past. That all has to change. This place, it's gorgeous. Hang on, take a look. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. I'm in front of a red wall, but let me explain something. Again, I need to stress this. There's a huge difference between the online photography world and the industry world. I've just been on Discord with someone, nice person, I don't know who they are in real life, but nice person. We were talking about film processing, and I had mentioned earlier that I was interested in getting a Leica Q2 or Q3, which let's say conservatively is a $5,000 camera. You could probably get the 2 cheaper than that used, but the 3 is gonna cost like that plus a kidney or maybe your spleen. But I was saying, look, when you consider that it's 50 bucks a roll for me to shoot a roll of film, I shoot 100 rolls of film, that's $5,000. And this person was like, wow, 50 bucks for processing a roll of film. I said, no, you have to buy the film, then I have to pay to ship it to Los Angeles, then I have to pay to process and get it scanned, which is about 30 bucks a roll, then I have to ship it back. And it's actually more than 50 bucks. And I was talking to a friend this morning who uses the same lab, and he was like, oh yeah, it's at least 50 bucks a roll to do that. So I'm like, okay, even if I just threw out those numbers and said 30 bucks a roll, that's still 3,000 bucks for 100 rolls of film, which makes all of a sudden makes the Q2 or any other camera at that price point seem like a bargain. But here's the thing, the other thing that came up in the conversation is clients pay for all that. Okay, I'm back, I had to cut that short. It's too embarrassing for me to film when there's other people around. I feel like such a tool. Anyway, my friend was like, you know, I don't know any photographer that works that way. And I said, well, anybody who's working in film that's shooting professionally, the clients are paying for all that. The photographer doesn't pay for it. If you're paying for your own film and processing, you're out of your mind. God, I keep getting interrupted. There's people all over the place, and it's embarrassing when you're sitting here talking to yourself into a GoPro. The client pays for all of this, but this is not YouTube pretend to be a photographer life. This is someone who's on assignment. All of this stuff is agreed upon before the shoot happens. If you are a film shooter and you are hired to do a commercial work, you know that the film and the processing and the scanning and the handling of that is going to be included in the shoot. And oh, by the way, photographers would often mark that up 2 to 3 times what the actual cost was. So you're profiting on your materials and the handling. If you're not doing that, you're out of your mind. You're probably going to go out of business, which is why so many people claim that you can't shoot film as a pro anymore. It's not true. It's just that they're bad business people and they don't know how to do this. The other thing is, back when I lived in Los Angeles, one of the best labs in town called Icon did a study. And when the TV networks figured out that you could shoot 40 rolls of 220 a day, and it was cheaper than shooting digital, many of the studios went back to shooting film because it was a more efficient workflow. You didn't need a trailer, you didn't need technicians, you didn't need to rent equipment. Photographers would shoot it, film would go to the lab, and it would come, get scanned and put on the FTP and go straight to the client. And the skin tone was 10 times better than what was happening on digital. But again, all of this stuff is paid by the clients. When I shot weddings, I didn't pay for my film and processing. The clients paid for all of that stuff. When I shot magazine work, the clients paid. When I shot portraits, the clients paid. If you're paying for that stuff yourself and not charging the clients, you're not a professional photographer. You are a sitting duck that is going to go out of business. So again, there's so much confusion because the squeaky wheel right now are YouTube influencers. Look at that. I put it back up. Oh, we got cars coming and people. YouTube influencers are not photographers. They're YouTube influencers. It's a totally separate kind of thing. Okay, he didn't see me. He's an old dude. He wouldn't care anyway. But he'd probably look over and go, what a tool. This drives me crazy, people. Again, there is a totally separate industry here, and they are apples and oranges. Again, not better than one another, just completely different. So there's hope if you want to shoot film. Okay, I'm still here. Let's talk stock. Again, this is all based on a conversation that I'm having on my phone. You can't see it, it's down here. The stock industry died so fast, it's kind of hard to fathom. I had friends who went from making $20,000 a month in resales to not shooting stock in less than 6 months. Think about that. Just his resales per month was $20,000, and in 6 months he'd completely gotten out of the stock industry. And by the way, $20,000 a month resales and stock was not at the high end of the scale. So for those of you who are sitting out there wondering what's stock and what's resales, hang on, I got people coming. Okay, so stock was you go shoot something, the images that aren't used go to your agency, the agency licenses and resells those around the world. Okay, I had to move. I can't keep starting and stopping. I was losing my mind. Okay, so you go out, you do a shoot. Let's say in my case, portraits. I shoot a portrait of someone. When that work comes back from the client, it goes to my agency. The agency looks at it, chooses the images they want, and then they license those around the world, either under rights managed, royalty-free, microstock, or a combination of all three. I never, ever, ever did anything but rights managed because royalty-free and microstock was the reason why the stock industry imploded, one of the major reasons. And my agent kept trying to get me to do those, and I kept saying, no, if I do that, I am part of the problem. Meanwhile, everyone around me starts doing royalty-free and microstock, hence the stock agency implodes and goes under and basically doesn't exist anymore. But the thing is, if you were smart and you shot the right kind of picture, you would do shoots in conjunction with the agency who would say, by the way, this is the kind of picture that we're selling all the time. Why don't we go out and set up our own shoot that delivers that kind of picture? For example, we need, I don't know, Asian folks, African American folks on Segways. Let's say that was a style of photo that was hot at the moment. Or 7 to 12-year-old kids playing with a beach ball, whatever. Friends would go out and they would work with the agency. They would hire hair and makeup. They would hire models. They would get location releases. They would go out and they would do these shoots, and then that work would go into circulation and it would sell its face off. Hence my friends making $20,000 a month in resales. And so again, I think this is a part of the industry, the actual professional photography industry that's brick and mortar, that has agents and art buyers and agencies and photographers and agents and all these people, that is completely lost in the shuffle now because the YouTube weenies who pretend to be photographers get all the publicity. It's a bizarre thing. And you know what? If you're a YouTube weenie and you're getting publicity and you have 1 million subscribers and you're making money and making a living, well, good on you. I'm not knocking that. But again, it's like crazy to think that this stuff didn't exist and that it doesn't still exist out there to some degree. So I'm here to, to right the wrongs of the past. I am a martyr. I'm a photo martyr and I'm a saint. I've never done anything wrong in my entire life except for try to film myself in this parking lot in front of an antique store without anybody seeing me, even though it is a high traffic zone. By the way, I just had Turkish coffee. Don't ever, ever, ever let me get to the point where I'm wearing dad jeans and those white orthopedic tennis shoes. If you ever see me in those jeans or in those shoes at any point from now until the end of my life, you have permission to call in an airstrike on my position. Please, I don't care if it's a cluster bomb, a daisy popper, whatever it is, just bring it in and cook me down.